Hi, I'm Susan, and this is a comeback yoga class. It's level two comeback yoga class. Level two is a class that moves perhaps a little faster than a level one, and we might hold poses a little bit longer. Otherwise, you can uh, adjust the poses and the pace to suit yourself. You can follow along exactly with me, or you can take your time, however you want. You can speed up or slow down. This is a class that's based on the form of sun salutation. So we get down on the floor, we come down in planks and do back bends, and we do lunges and um, downward facing dogs, and we'll balance a little bit. So we'll warm up and do some work, and then we'll cool down, and then we'll do some rest. Pretty simple. This class runs about 50 minutes, so we'll end about 10 till, and um, give ourselves plenty of time to rest and move on with the rest of our day. Let's start by coming into your practice. And what I mean by that is pay attention to your body and pay attention to your mind and pay attention to the state of yourself. Take stock. Notice how you feel. How does your back feel? How do your shoulders feel? What's going on inside your head? How's your digestion? What are your hips feeling like? Do you have any sensations that you want to pay extra attention to as you move around in practice? That's a lot of questions, but they're just suggestions for questions that you might ask yourself and things that you might notice. Really, you're just giving yourself time to slow down and pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on with you. As you do that, as you pay attention to what's going on with you, start to notice your breath. First, you notice that you are breathing, because luckily we don't have to remember that we're breathing all the time to breathe. But when you turn your attention to your breath, you start to notice. You start to notice your breathing. You start to notice how you're breathing and how your breath feels. Noticing how your breath feels, start to notice how your body moves when you breathe. So you might notice a lift and a lower of your rib cage, or an expansion and contraction somewhere in your stomach or your torso. You might notice the feeling of air cooling your nose, your nasal cavity, or your throat, or your mouth. You might notice the sensation of air coming in and air leaving your body. And you might notice lots of other things: the movement, the sensation, the physical sensation of your breath. And start to exaggerate the movement of your breath with lifting and lowering your chest. So you'll inhale to lift your chest up and exhale to curl in. Now we'll inhale and stretch your arms out to 45 degrees. Lift them up, stretch out. Exhale, your fingertips come down to your mat and curl in. And move with your own breath. So you don't have to match my breath exactly here. Inhale to lift up to 90 degrees with your arms straight out from your shoulders. Exhale to curl in. Your fingertips come down. Inhale to lift up into the upper half of an X, any lift above 90. Exhale and let your arms come down. Your fingertips come down to your mat and curl in, tuck your chin. Now you can go to any height as you inhale. You can come to 45, you can come to 90, you can come to the X, you can come to all the way overhead. Exhale, let your hands come down and curl in. So now we're just moving like this. And move with your breath. Inhale to lift and stretch, and exhale to let your arms come down and curl in. The position of your arms is assisting the stretch, the opening of the sides of your body, and the expansion of your belly, expansion of your back. It also gives you a little bit more. You find yourself a little bit more stretched, a little bit more open, perhaps, when you inhale and you reach up, and a little bit more extra curl in when you exhale and curl. Let's do 2 more times. Inhale to lift up and stretch up and reach overhead or out. Exhale, your arms come down. Support yourself with your fingers on the mat and curl in. Last time, inhale to reach your arms up overhead, any amount. Exhale, let your arms come down and plant your fingers into the mat beside you and curl, tuck your chin. Inhale to lift yourself up again. Place your hands on the tops of your knees and notice how your breath feels now. It feels differently than when you first started. Swallow to release your throat. Roll your shoulders one time. Tilt your right ear toward your onto your knee and take your right arm up and over. You can tilt your left ear toward your left shoulder. Inhale to reach up, take your arms out to T, lift your chest. Exhale, and now bring your arms out in front of you, tuck your chin and curl your spine. Inhale to open up and stretch across your chest. Exhale to bring your arms forward, touch your palms together, your fingers together, tuck your chin. One more time, inhale to open up, stretch across your chest. Exhale, bring your arms forward, touch your palms together, your fingers together, and then draw your hands back towards your center line of your body. Sit tall. Now, bring your attention, your awareness to your whole body, the state of yourself and your breath, and make an intention for your practice. It might be something simple, like you want to stretch out your legs and your hips, or it might be something more intangible. It might be a sensation that you are seeking, or it might be a mental state that you're seeking. Bring the awareness of your intention, your desire, your wish for your class. Bring that into your mind and let it be your guide as you move throughout class. Wrap your arms around your upper chest and hold your shoulders and draw a circle with your torso. Go all the way around. Take both hands over toward your right leg and turn. Look past your right shoulder. Untwist, put your other arm on top and take a circle with your torso all the way around. Take both hands on the outside of your left thigh and turn and look past your left shoulder. Untwist, bring yourself in a table with your hands and your knees on your mat and tuck your tailbone under and lift your tailbone and move through your spine. Move through your spine, move through your tailbone, move through your shoulders. Walk your knees towards each other a little bit and stretch your right leg long back behind you with your toes tucked under, press back through your heel, and you can kind of come forward and back a little bit, encouraging stretch in the back of your right leg. Put your right knee back next to your left knee and stick your left leg back behind you. You're tucking your toes under and pressing back through your heel, allowing stretch in the back of your leg and noticing where you feel that. You might feel it in your heel, your calf, your hamstring, your hip. Just kind of roll your attention up from the bottom of your extended left foot all the way up the back of your leg toward the middle of your back. Your left knee comes right next to your right knee. You can look at your knees and bring them into evenness. Then tuck both sets of toes under and stretch back and stretch the bottoms of your feet. Your hips move back toward your heels. You find a lot of stretch at the bottoms of your feet. We're paying attention to warming up our legs and our feet. So we're going to stand on them. Let your elbows come down onto the mat and press your elbows down too. And then turn your palms up and look at each one of your hands and wiggle your fingers, curl your fingers in towards the centers of your palms and extend your fingers out from the centers of your palms. Turn your palms down and walk your hands forward and stretch the sides of your body and your shoulders. And lift yourself up, come back into your table and move your hips left and right. And walk your knees towards each other and take your right leg back behind you once again. This time, float your right leg in the air so your right leg approaches parallel to your hip and your shoulders and your head. Everything comes into line. Start to roll through your floating leg's foot and move your toes and wiggle your toes. Move your ankle and roll your ankle through all the movement that it makes. Then curl your knee underneath you and hold on to your foot with your hand and assist it forward. We're coming into a low lunge. You can walk your hands forward and lean forward any amount. Stretch yourself out. Now, you might not want to walk quite as far forward as I am. And this is all about feeling, not about how it looks. So you're encouraging stretch in both of your legs. That's all. Just stretch and breathe. Keep thinking about your breath. Then take your right leg back behind you one more time. Plant your hands down. Stretch your leg back behind you. Roll through your foot. And both knees come back down to your mat. Tuck your toes under. Stretch out the bottoms of your feet. Move your hips back toward your heels. And then lift forward. We'll come into upward facing dog. Your knees stay down. Your arms plant down. And your chest comes forward. And then we'll move into downward facing dog. And first downward facing dog, we'll do kneeling. Your arms walk forward and you have a long line from your hips down through your fingertips on the mat. Getting more stretch out of your shoulders, more stretch out of your spine. Lift yourself up a little bit. Walk your hands back underneath you. Walk your knees towards each other and stick your left leg back behind you. This time you're floating your left leg. Roll through your foot, move your ankle in all the ways that it moves, move your toes in all the ways that they move. Start to curl your left knee underneath you. Reach down and hold on to your foot and assist your foot forward. We're coming into low lunge. You might have your hands down onto your mat, or you might be a little bit taller with your hands on your front leg. Just encouraging stretch in both of your legs here. Stretch, and you can move a little bit forward and back. And then take your left leg back behind you. Stretch it back behind you. Match your knees. You can look at your knees to match them in length and position. Tuck your toes under, your hips move back toward your heels. And now we'll do a different variation of downward facing dog. So I'll give you two different options. You can come onto your forearms and straighten your legs, or you come onto straight arms and straighten your legs. Either way, you can do one of those two. Roll your head around. If your head is off the floor, pedal your feet, bending one knee and the other knee. And notice your knees, notice the bottoms of your feet now. We stretch out the bottoms of our feet and our backs and our shoulders. Notice how it feels to put yourself in this new position, upside down position kind of. And slowly start to walk yourself forward towards the top of your mat. Give yourself time to get up there. And when you get up there, you're in forward fold, so your torso is hanging over your legs. Your arms are dangling from your shoulders. Maybe your fingertips are touching something. Encourage your fingertips to touch your feet or the mat or the fronts of your shins, wherever they naturally arrive as you hang forward and forward fold. Now rock the weight back into your heels. Take your hands to the fronts of your thighs and lift your torso. We're coming into a supported chair pose. Move the weight back into your heels. Find your weight. Find the length of your spine. Breathe. Inhale to straighten your legs and sweep your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring your hands together in front of your chest. Pause for a moment, and same on all four sides. Shift the weight onto your right foot. Pick up your left heel. Come onto your toes. and kind of stutter your left foot back behind you until your heel is down. Your front knee is bent, your back leg is long. Sweep both arms, reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale and take both hands to the outside of your right hip and turn and look past your right shoulder. Untwist, sweep your arms up, overhead. Exhale and step together. Top of your mat, reach up, exhale, and swan dive forward. Bring your hands down towards the mat. And you can step or walk or hop back into a plank. And plank looks like a push-up. You might have one knee down, you might have both knees down. You might be on your forearms. You have lots of options here. Hold your plank for one more breath. Inhale and exhale. And lower yourself down onto your stomach. Coming into cobra pose. Lengthen your legs, point your toes, slightly tuck your tailbone, float your hands off the floor and lift your rib cage. The back of your neck is long, look down your nose. Your hands come down. Push yourself into plank position once again. And then hinge yourself into downward facing dog. While you're in downward facing dog, you're focusing on your breath, on your intention for your class, for your body, for your practice. Keep breathing and then walk or step or hop forward. Your feet toward your hands, hang forward in your forward fold. This time place your hands something different, someplace different on your legs, maybe in the outsides of your legs or in the backs of your thighs. You could put the backs of your hands on your hips as you lean forward in your forward fold. Bend your knees a lot and lift yourself in a chair pose. Your chair pose is sinking the weight back into your heels so you can feel what happens when you move your weight into your heels. Notice what happens. Bring your hands together in front of your chest and gaze at your middle fingertips. Inhale to stand up straight. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Pick up your right heel. You're on your toes. And then just kind of stutter your foot back behind you. Plant your heel down. Bending into your front knee and lifting your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, both hands come to the outside of your left thigh, left hip. You can lean forward a little bit and stretch. Inhale to untwist, reach both arms overhead. Exhale, your hands come down towards the mat and step back into plank position. Hold your plank for a moment. Then lower yourself down onto your stomach. All the way down. This time we'll do bow pose. Reach your fingers back towards your feet. Lift your chest a little and bend your knees. Your heels come up toward your hips. See if your fingers wrap around any part of your feet. And lift your chest and lift your thighs a little and make little hooks out of your ankles, bringing your toes toward your shins. Stretch and breathe and breathe. And release your grip. Your legs come back down to the mat. Place your hands on either side of your chest. Push yourself onto your knees and tuck your legs underneath you and come into resting pose. Now, resting pose could look like this, where you're leaning over your legs. Resting pose could look like this, where you're sitting up. It could look like table, or it could look like being on your forearms. The point is it should be restful as much as possible. You're breathing and resting and giving yourself time to absorb all the movements, all the motions, all the sensations. Lifting yourself back up through table. Walk your hands forward, walk your knees towards each other. Take your right leg back behind you and float your right leg. This time, transfer weight onto your right hand. Spread your fingers a little bit and take your left arm forward. So your right leg is back, your left arm is forward. Balance. Both hands come down. Curl your right knee underneath you, and you can assist it or you can slide it through. Step forward with your right foot, and this time we'll come into your left hand. Your left arm is straight, pressing down into the floor, and take your right arm back behind you. and look past your right shoulder. You might not have your hips coming forward quite as far, or you might have them forward further. Depends on how you feel and where you want to go in your practice. Let's unwrap both hands down. Take your right leg back into bird dog. Both knees down, match your knees, look at them. Tuck your toes under, stretch out the bottoms of your feet. Inhale to walk forward into upward facing dog, and then stretch back into downward facing dog. Your hips point up to where the wall and the ceiling meet. Your hands and your feet are on the mat, and you're lengthening your spine. Your knees can bend as much as you want to. Let your knees come back down to the mat. Walk your knees towards each other a little bit. And stick your left leg back behind you. You can float your left leg. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step it forward in between your hands. Your right arm stays down. Lean forward and let your left arm come back behind you and wrap your arm around you. So that might look like this with your outside of your left hand on the outside of your hip, or it might look like anywhere in between, wrapping your arm so it lays flat against your back. Stretch and breathe. Give yourself time. And unwrap your left arm, place it down. Take your left leg back behind you. And take your right arm forward and balance. Both hands down, both knees down. Tuck your toes. Send your hips back towards the back of the mat. Stretch out the bottoms of your feet. Inhale to lift up. Walk your hands forward. Stretch yourself into the back bend, upward facing dog. You're balancing on the platform of your long arms. Your hips are suspended just above the mat. Your chest is pointing forward. And pull your hips back. Strength of your hips, strength of your legs. Tuck your toes under and lengthen your legs so you're in downward facing dog once again. Pedal out your feet. Move your head around. Look forward between your thumbs and step or walk or hop forward. You can take as many hops as you want to if you're hopping. Hang forward and forward fold. This time bring your hands to the crooks of your opposite elbows. Keep your knees a little bit bent. Let your head drop down. And bend your knees a lot and lift yourself into chair pose with your arms forward. Inhale to reach up towards the ceiling. Stretch long. Exhale and bring your hands together in front of your chest. Shifting your weight onto your left foot. Step your right foot back behind you. Bending into your front knee, sweeping your arms overhead. Exhale into open twist. Your left arm is forward, your right arm is back. Take your right arm up and over and down and come into standing splits. Your fingertips are on the floor. Your right leg lifts up and back behind you. Your torso comes down and you might notice the whole left side of your body coming down towards the front of your left leg. Step together at the top of your mat. Look at both of your feet. Notice all your toes. Inhale to half lift. Slide your hands up the fronts of your legs. Exhale to sit down into chair pose with your arms overhead. Stand tall, reach up. Exhale and bring your hands together in front of your chest. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, your arms come out to T, hinge forward, hang forward and forward fold. Bring your hands to the crooks of your opposite elbows. Let your head drop. Sweep your arms forward, sit down into chair pose. Put your hands together in front of your chest. Stand tall, shift the weight onto your right foot. Pick up your left foot and step it back. Bending into your front knee. Sweeping your arms into warrior one. Reach up. Exhaling into open twist. Your right arm comes forward. Your left arm comes back. Look past your thumb. Inhale and sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhaling, your hands down towards the mat, step forward and come into standing splits. Your left leg is lifted up towards the ceiling. Your torso hangs down, and notice the distance between your torso and your foundation leg, your right leg. Slowly let your left foot come right next to your right foot. Look at your toes. Notice the position of your feet. Inhale to half lift. Your hands are on the fronts of your legs. Sink back into chair pose. Sweep your arms overhead. Stand up tall. Reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, arms come out to T. Hinge forward into forward fold. Shifting your weight onto your right foot. Step your left foot back behind you. You can bend and straighten a couple of times. Step forward a little bit with your back foot. Both heels are planted. Start to interlace your fingers and bring your hands to the front of your right leg. That's the leg that's in front. Gently press back with your hips and lengthen your spine. Bend into your front knee and lift your torso. Sweep your arms overhead into warrior one. Exhale, bring your hands together in front of your chest. We're stepping forward into dancer pose. Your front leg is your foundation leg. Your toes might stay on the floor, or your back knee might bend, and your heel might. Back foot comes down. Inhale to sweep your arms overhead. Exhale, plant your hands down and step back to plank. Pedal out your feet. And tuck your legs underneath you. Let your hips move back toward your heels. Rock a little bit side to side. Take a little rest. Stretch your arms out in front of you and slide forward towards the top of your mat. Come into upward facing dog. And then pull yourself into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet, move your head around. Look forward between your thumbs and start to walk or hop. You can hop forward. Come all the way forward towards the top of the mat. Inhale, slide your hands up the fronts of your legs, lengthen your spine. Sit down in chair pose with your hands together in front of your chest. And stand up. Pause for a moment. Roll your shoulders. Shift your weight onto your left foot and step your right foot back. Bending into your front knee, sweeping your arms up and overhead. Exhaling, bringing your hands together in front of your chest. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Take both hands to the outside of your front hip. Then slide your hands down towards your front leg. Interlace your fingers and start to lengthen your legs. And let your hips move back and straighten your spine. Lengthen your spine, lengthen your legs. Start to bend into your front knee. Lift yourself up, reach up overhead. Exhale, take your hands down towards the mat and step back to plank. This time, lower yourself all the way down onto your stomach. Untuck your toes. Sweep your hands back towards your feet. You're reaching back towards the back of your mat. Lift your rib cage, lift your legs. Lengthen the back of your neck, lift your rib cage, lift your legs. Lift your arms a little, lift your legs. And lower down, all the way down onto your stomach. Place your hands on either side of your chest. Lift yourself onto your knees. Tuck your legs underneath you and come into resting position, curling over your legs. Give yourself a breath or two. Put your hands on the fronts, the tops of your legs, and lift yourself into kneel. And slide your hands to your upper glutes, like you were putting your fingers into your back pockets. And move your shoulders towards each other and open up across your chest. Track your gaze along the floor towards the top of your mat. Then lift your rib cage, and just like we were doing when we were inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower at the beginning of class, see if you can Bring a little bit of that feeling into your back bend, your camel pose. You're inhaling to lengthen and lift. It's a little more subtle. Exhaling to soften. We'll do one more. Inhaling to lift and stretch. Exhaling to soften. Take your hands to the fronts of your legs and slide your hands down toward your knees. Bring yourself back into your table. Once again. So here we are in table. Rock your hips left and right. Tuck your tailbone and lift your tailbone. Move through cat and cow. Walk your knees towards each other. Take your right leg back behind you. Press back through your heel. Stretch your calf. And then lift your leg. Bring your leg parallel to the floor. And then balance. Your opposite arm comes forward. Both hands down. Curl your right knee underneath you. Step it forward in between your hands. Lean forward into stretch. And tuck your back toes under and lift your back knee. Take your right arm around behind you and turn and look past your right shoulder. Give yourself a moment to get used to this position. Try lifting your back thigh a little bit more and lifting your hips in general a little bit more. And sink down, your back knee comes down, your hands come down. Stretch back into half splits, your front leg stays forward, your heel rocks onto the floor, your toes up. And walk your hands forward and slide yourself back into bird dog. Right leg floats behind you. Both knees down. Drag your hips back toward your heels and take a little rest. You can come onto your forearms. You can turn your palms up, curl your fingers in towards the centers of your palms and extend them out. Slide forward onto your stomach. Finding the bow pose, reaching your fingers back towards your feet, bending your knees. If your hands and your ankles connect, you can hold on to your feet or your ankles, wherever your hands connect. Lift your chest and try lifting your thighs a little. Move your heels away from your hips. There's another way to do this pose. You could hold on to just one leg, or you could hold on to neither foot and reach your fingers back towards your heels. So choose which direction, which option feels best for you. Release your grip if you had one. Hands on either side of your chest. Push yourself into plank position. And move into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet, move your head around. Your knees come down. Spread your fingers wide. Walk your knees towards each other a little bit. And this time your left leg's back behind you in bird dog. Press back, toes tucked under, stretching your calf and your ankle. And then lift your leg behind you. Bring your opposite arm forward for balance. Your hands come down. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step your left foot forward in between your hands. This time, tuck your right toes under. Lift your right knee. Your left arm wraps around behind you. You can bring your gaze past your back shoulder. Now, you can always let your back knee come back down to the floor. It's fine. Give yourself time to stretch and turn. Try lifting your hips in general a little bit, and try lifting your back thigh a little bit. Unwrapping, your back knee comes down and lean back into half splits. So your left heel's on the floor, your toes come up, your torso extends over your front leg. Rock forward and bring your left leg next to your right leg. Look at your knees. Untuck your toes and rest for a moment. Let your hips come back toward your heels. You can bring yourself onto your forearms. Turn your palms up, curl your fingers in towards the centers of your palms, and extend your fingers up. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Lean forward in upward facing dog and pull back into downward facing dog. Take your left leg back behind you for three-legged dog. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step it forward in between your hands. Your back heel comes down and lift yourself into warrior two. Reverse your warrior. Your right arm comes behind you, your left arm curls overhead. Straighten your legs and tilt your torso forward into triangle. Your left arm's down, your right arm is up. Inhale to lift your torso, bring your hands together in front of your chest. Rotate your torso forward, rotate your back heel up, and bend your both knees. Sink down a little. Take your hands to your front leg and start to slide your hands down towards your toes, fingers down, and lift your back leg. Step together at the top of your mat. Inhale to half lift. Exhale to chair pose with your arms overhead. Inhale to reach up and stretch up. Exhale and bring your hands together in front of your chest. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to bring your arms out to T. Hinge forward all the way down. Step or hop or walk back to downward facing dog. Take your right leg back behind you. Curl your right knee underneath you. Step your right foot forward. Your back heel comes down. Lift yourself into warrior two. Reverse your warrior. Your left arm comes around behind you. Your right arm curls up and over. Inhale to come through center. Straighten your legs. Straighten your arms. Tilt yourself into triangle. Inhale to lift your torso. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Rotate towards the short edge of the mat. Your back heel dials up. Bend into your back knee. This time we're stepping forward into dancer pose. Step forward onto your front foot. Take as many steps as you want to and lift your back leg. Your toes might come up off the floor. They don't have to. You can bend your knee. Lift your chest. Bring your gaze past your fingertips. Curl your left knee underneath you. Step together. Top of your mat. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to hinge forward. Hang forward in forward fold. Put your hands somewhere on with connection. So you're touching your fingertips to either your mat or the tops of your feet, wherever your hands naturally come. Notice the sensation, connecting your hands to the place that you're touching. Perhaps it's your shins or your calves. And start to slide your hands up just above your knees. Sit back in the chair pose, lifting your torso. Take your hands together in front of your chest and twist your chair. Your left elbow comes across over towards the outside of your right knee. Inhale to come back through center. Stand tall. Reach up. Exhale, bring your hands together in front of your chest. Shift your weight onto your left foot and take your right leg back behind you. Your front knee bends. Your arms sweep up overhead. Exhale and take both hands to your left leg. Start to straighten your left leg and start to tilt forward. Slide your right hand down towards your shin, your left hand up toward your hip, and turn and look past your left shoulder. Untwist. Take your hands to the front of your left leg. Come all the way back up to stand. Hands together in front of your chest. Step together, top of your mat. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to swan dive forward. Plant your hands. Step or walk or hop back to plank. Lower yourself down onto your belly. Come into cobra pose. Float your hands. Lift your chest. Point your toes. Tuck your tailbone. Hands down, tuck your toes, push yourself into plank, and move into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet, move your head around. And then step or walk or hop forward at the top of your mat. Inhale to half lift. Exhale to chair pose with your hands together in front of your chest. And stand tall. Sit back in the chair pose and we're twisting the chair. Your right elbow comes across over towards your left knee. Sit back. Untwist to stand tall. Shift your weight onto your right foot. Step your left foot back. Bend into your front knee. Take both hands down towards the front of your leg that's in front and start to straighten your leg and slide your right hand up toward your right hip and your left hand down to the outside of your lower front leg. Connect your hands to your leg. Notice twisting balance. Breathe. Start to slide your hands towards each other on the front of your right leg. Slide your hands up, coming all the way back up to stand, sweeping your arms overhead into warrior one. Exhaling your hands down, step back to plank. Tuck your legs underneath you and take a little rest. It's child's pose. You can have your forearms on the floor. You could outstretch your arms out in front of you. Bring yourself up through seated. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Walk your hands up towards the top of the mat and take your left knee forward and stretch your right leg back behind you. We're coming into pigeon pose. You can bring your forearms down onto your mat, or you can stay up with straight arms. Sometimes I like to put my fingertips into the mat like we did at the beginning of class, touching fingertips into the mat. You can feel each one of your fingertips. If you're leaning forward, you're giving yourself lots of time to find just the right spot for yourself. And when you do this, you're noticing the state of yourself. At the beginning of class, we took a scan. We noticed all the different parts of our bodies and noticed how we were feeling. And now check back in with yourself. Notice if there's been a shift or a change. Notice if there's something that you want to pay special attention to. Breathe and breathe. Start to lift yourself up from your pigeon and stretch your left leg back behind you. Tuck your toes under. Drag your hips back toward your heels. Focus on stretching out the bottoms of your feet. Lifting yourself up and taking your right knee forward. Stretching your left leg long back behind you this time. And you've got different options on this side. So it's the same pose, but you're on a different side. So maybe you'd like to do something different. You're always welcome to do something different on the other side. You can keep your forearms on your mat, maybe interlace your fingers in between each other. You can kind of feel your hands connecting to each other, or you could place your palms down and spread your fingers wide and feel the texture of the floor underneath your fingers. Maybe you're noticing that your legs aren't quite comfortable and you want to give yourself a little bit different angle for your knees or your hips. Notice any parts of your body that you want to pay a little extra attention to give a little bit more ease to as you breathe. And start to bring yourself back up through straight arms. Tuck your back toes under, walk your knee forward a little, and take both legs underneath you. Match your knees to each other. Untuck your toes and drag your hips back toward your heels. Rock from side to side. Now come to seated, cross your legs underneath you, however you like to do it. Stick your legs out in front of you. Press out through your heels, bring your toes toward your shins. Pop your knees up a little, put your hands on the fronts of your legs and sit tall. Encourage the natural curves of your spine. Let's go back to the beginning with the breath technique, inhaling to lift your arms to 45, inhaling to lift your arms to 90, inhaling to lift your arms to any height. Exhale, let your arms come all the way back down. Start to match your rhythm of your thoughts with your breath too. Inhaling to 45, inhaling to 90, inhaling to any height above 90. Exhale and let your arms come down. You can follow your fingers with your gaze. We'll do one more. Inhale, 45. Inhale to 90. Inhale to reach overhead. This time, exhale, but keep your arms overhead. Keep exhaling. Walk your heels a little bit closer, and we'll come into boat pose so you can walk your feet a little bit closer, and maybe you float your feet off of your mat, and maybe you bring your shins parallel to the floor. You can also hold on instead of keeping your arms overhead, and hold on to the backs of your legs. Breathe in your boat pose. Plop your feet down, scoot your hips forward a little bit, and roll back onto your back. You can support yourself with your arms. Pull your knees in toward your chest and draw little circles with your knees, both directions. And put your hands on the tops of your legs and press your heels up towards the ceiling. Roll through your feet, look at your toes. You can stay like this, or you could hold on to any part of your legs and encourage your low back to stretch out by bringing your thighs a little closer toward your torso. Slowly let your feet come back down towards your mat and walk your feet out towards the edges of your mat and feel the texture of your mat underneath your feet, and rock your knees left and right. You can rock your head left and right. Gradually bring yourself into your favorite resting position. It might be lying on your back. It might be laying on your side. It might be on your belly. You might stick your legs up the wall. Those are just a few options that you might choose. You can have your eyes open or closed. For that matter, if you prefer to sit up, you're welcome to do that too. Any way you want to rest is the right way to rest for you. It's the way that you want to do it. So breathe and invite rest into your practice. So we did some twisty, turny, stretchy things, some balancy things, some hip stretches. Now you're just allowing yourself to be still. You're inviting yourself to be still. You can go back to matching that rhythm of your breath, your inhales and your exhales. See if there's something that you can do to give yourself just a little bit more ease, a little bit more softness. Your yoga practice is just about this. It's just about finding rest and quiet. Giving yourself compassion. And holding space for yourself. Take 2 more inhales and exhales here. Your biggest and softest and gentlest inhales and exhales so far. And you're welcome to stay longer in this resting position. If you're ready, you can start to bring yourself up through seated. Can give yourself a slow transition. You can move through your body a little bit, wiggle through your fingers and your toes, and move through your shoulders and your hips, and then gradually roll over onto one side and bring yourself up to sitting tall. Once you get all the way back up to seated, you can bring your hands together in front of your chest and rub your hands together. Bring your thumbs a little bit closer toward your chest, tuck your elbows in at your sides. Sit a little bit taller. Take a big soft inhale breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And do one more. Inhale and exhale. Acknowledge your practice. Acknowledge the time that you take to take care of yourself. Acknowledge the time that you take to listen and slow down, the time that you take to foster rest. Acknowledge yourself as your own best teacher and your practice as the tool to get that knowledge. Namaste. Thanks so much for practicing with me. I appreciate it. Please visit us at comebackyoga.org if you have any questions. If you'd like to know more about our organization or where we're teaching classes, of course, we have our live stream classes every day, sometimes 3 times a day. And we have many videos that you can watch. And we also have a few classes in person. So if you want to know more information about that, just visit us on our website. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Thanks.